Welcome everyone to This Is For Me Girl Sut podcast with Tarn and
Rampy, welcome to season 2.
season 2 is here. It's arrived and it's going to be a great time.
And as much as it's a surprise to you, it's a surprise to us as well.
Like, ito tak pahunch ke? Yeah. It's crazy. The fact that it's in season 2. Yeah, thank you guys all for all the support that you are always showing us. And, you know, this is our legal disclaimer. Please note that we are not medical professionals or licensed psychologists/therapists. Thoughts, opinions, and comments made within each episode are solely our own. If you require serious medical or psychological help, please consult a professional, as we are just two girlies trying to support the sisterhood of the shit show of what it could be to be a Punjabi girl. It's just great. Just a great outlet for all of us, and hopefully you guys learn some good things out of it. And again, anytime recommendations, let us know. But I think we're ready to jump right into it. And so today's episode, we wanted to showcase something that a lot of us go through, and it's how to manage living in a brown household in a positive way.
Yeah, because although we can just kind of complain about it, which is the norm, which is fine, it's that much harder to, I find, come from a positive perspective and a positive light. So we're like, okay, let's put some examples of how perhaps we've managed or what we could give as recommendations for that, because everyone goes through it. So it's not even just managing within living in a brown family, but just living joint fam or fam in general when there's a bunch of different people into factor. So first thing I would say is acknowledging that no family is perfect. Could be since we're like kids, depending when you're going to school, you have that for picture perfect family, or the little TV shows we used to watch when we were kids that used to portray
The Bears, St. Bears.
The mom, the dad, the kids, and like they would have those little their stupid problems are so stupid too, right? And so sometimes when you sit there, you're like, well, why doesn't, like, that's easy, they solved it, why can't we? Because we can't.
Because you can't solve something within an episode.
That's true. Or as you see with our Indian, Punjabi, Hindi, whatever drama, Pakistani dramas, the issue will last 4 or 5 episodes, right? So
Girl, that's being generous.
they will be on the same
like,
day.
It will be
like a week
the
and a half.
same day for 15 episodes.
But then they'll jump sometimes 15 days in like one episode, which is pretty funny.
I remember this one time my mom was watching one of her drama, and I had already anticipate, like I told her, I'm like, I predicted it. I'm like, this is what's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
It took a week and a half, and it got there.
Yeah, so I recently I was in Montreal in the holidays in December, and I was watching, my parents got me hooked to a show they were watching because I was there for quite a bit, right? So I got addicted. I was like, oh, it's so good. But I got bored as it moves, right? So I would watch them online afterwards, and I literally would just fast forward all the scenes, fast forward. Okay, okay, move on. And when I saw them again, they're still like at episode something, and I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for the next episodes to come out, because it was available online quicker. So, all right. So the next thing we move on to is that we should understand and know that our parents are not perfect, and we should forgive ourselves for setting those expectations for them, because yeah, when we're born, that's all we know, that's all we see, that's all that's around us, and why wouldn't we feel that they would be that, right, for us? And over time, I feel that as we get older, we still hold those expectations for them, and we forget that they're human too, right?
Yeah, I agree with you there, because when there's a letdown, then we don't really understand why do they do this to us? It's just because it actually, I think, can go both ways. They hold expectations for us, and we end up holding expectations for them. So then when we have issues, we disappoint one another, it hurts to another significant level that wasn't anticipated, right?
Yep.
And another thing I would say is understanding how the culture has a huge impact on parental thinking, right?
Yes.
So as much as they're not human, our culture, the way it's established, like through generations, is there's a lot of toxicity in certain ways,
Mm-hmm.
just because if you think about it, in India, all they used to do is, like, it was just family and surviving as a family. and religion.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
There is nothing about socialization. There's lots of families out there like you can go to and go to the parents, and they will not know if they have a friend. There's lots of
Mm,
like I talk to some of my friends sometimes, they're like, yeah, like we're going to be living differently when we're a lot older because we have social lives, right? We have
yeah.
friends, we have this, we have that. So like regardless of where our journey takes us, we have other aspects in our lives that they don't have,
I think it
because their
also,
focus in with that with the culture has always been family, religion, and just that unity of surviving.
but I think that's how they've been able to get to where they get to
Yeah.
is because of how the way it was set up and how things worked out. So at that time and period, yes, it worked out great and it was good. And even the concept and stuff in India and is so much more different and it's better in these aspects. Whereas here it changes because here it's like, as we all know, when do you see fam? You see them at weddings. We wait for weddings and then, okay, guys, let's see you for a week and then let's see when we see you
Us
again.
planning cousin get-togethers
So
is
difficult.
such a daunting task.
I try to do it every quarter.
You do.
I try every quarter.
Rempe
And you
tries to get us
so
together.
hard.
Rempe tries to get us together every
There was
quarter.
this one time, I'm gonna say it, it's really funny too. There's this one time we were supposed to meet, I think, like something happened and we were all meeting up like the weekend before. It was someone's birthday, right? And then the following weekend we were supposed to meet up to do our activity. And then I was chasing around three of the cousins because I'm like, yo, what's going on? And they're the younger ones, right? So I'm like, hello, are you going or you're not? Because it's a fun activity they would want to do, right? And I try to do that.
One of
So
them knocked off my glasses, so yeah, it was a fun activity.
yeah. So I don't, okay, so when we plan activities, we're not doing like, just to get sit downs or whatever. We're like, okay, let's get out there, let's do something fun. Because me and Javier are like that. We're sportsy and we like to do other things. So I'm like, go to the store. I'm like, you would want to do it. Like, what are you doing? I was like, oh yeah, we went to book and everything. And I was like,
Then why didn't you?
thankfully they got spots. If not, hubby got after them. He's like, yo, let's go, let's go. He's chasing them. He's like, let's go, get it done, get it done. And they're like, okay, we're booking, we're booking. So
It's
then
the
they did it.
younger ones who just like
So
they
funny.
forget.
But they enjoy it the most. So
They
that's the funny
do.
part.
They do.
One of our youngest ones, he's fucking gone, what do we call it?
The
We
river
took
rafting
him
thing?
river rafting, and then we took him. Oh, he didn't go with us to Montreal, did he?
Yeah, you guys. He
Yeah,
went river rafting.
he went
with you
river
guys.
rafting, and we
He
went
first
jet
wasn't
boating.
supposed to go.
Oh,
He was supposed to stay home with me,
mm.
and then he went, and then I
He
had
had a
the house
blast.
to myself.
He had a blast.
So you guys had a blast. I had a blast.
Yeah, we had a blast, almost falling over. And a
Um,
funny thing, one of our cousins fell over. We didn't even notice it, and he's standing on the rocks and looking at us
but he's
while
like
we're.
a tall dude.
I agree. While we're all focused on the other one, our probably to be that's like freaking in the water.
Yeah.
She almost made it, and everyone just turns to look at her. The guy's already out of the water, standing on the rock, staring at us like, "Hey, what about me?" It was really funny.
The Riptide, was it the whirlpool thing? What was it? What do you call it? The jet boating thing we did?
Yes,
That was insane.
that was so good.
Because we sat like right in the front.
We did it at Niagara Falls, guys.
Yeah. When my mom found out we were doing this, she's like, "Does he marna?" Because there's like a waiver and everything, right? So I was just like, But yeah, so yeah, get-togethers can definitely be a big time, especially if you have a big family. We have a big family, like, so for us, like getting together, it's a really big task to take on. So whenever Rempe gets into it, I'm just like the person in the back. I'm like, yes, let's do it, let's do it,
Yeah,
let's
she's
do
a
it.
supporter. So, okay, guys, go.
Let's
Let's
do
do
it,
this.
let's
Let's
do
do
it.
that.
And then half of them don't respond, and I'm like,
It's all
listen.
good.
I'm like, I've been responding. So hopefully this month we can do something. We're trying to focus on a specific task that we're trying to get done because families are growing, little ones are coming in the family, so we wanna celebrate that, right? But back to the topic. So yeah, so the culture, making sure you know that your parents are human, all of those things are extremely important. And not again, this isn't just about like your parents. This is about relatives, whatever. Because again, in a brown family, you could have like das
Combination.
in your family, right? Like you could have like your chacha, your masi, your tai, your taya, like whatever, your dada dadi, your nana nani, whoever, right? Like it could be a big family, and that's just something we're used to, right? Like I grew up with like so many people around all the time, right? So like
we used to be like at the same cousin's house like every weekend.
Yeah.
And we would never get sick of
Yeah.
it, but we were there again.
like my
again,
little cousins,
again.
because we used to live a lot more closer to them when they were younger, right? Like my masi and my master would be at work, so after I finished school and like whatever clubs and stuff, my cousins would walk over to my house, and like we would have like dinner together every night, and then we would drop them off home, right? Like I used to take them to like their when I say I've raised a lot of children that are not biologically mine, I'm not kidding. Like, there's a good maybe 4 or 5 that I've done. So motherhood is not as of a daunting task to me, just
Mm-hmm.
because I've done a lot of helping out since I was a
Mm-hmm.
kid. I mean, I think a lot of us have done that. It's just the way we help one another,
There's a
right?
sense of responsibility I find whenever you're the daughter or you're an older one too. It always automatically, since if you have a younger sibling especially, you get into the sense of like responsibility, and then that kind of trickles on to like other like of your friends. It could be your friends, it could be
Yep,
your other family members. It just trickles
for
on to
sure.
you
And another thing I wanted to point out is that, there's gonna be times where you might be butting heads with whatever the situation is at hand,
constantly.
constantly, once in a while, whatever the situation is, right? Um, Personally, I've noticed that sometimes making peace for your mental health is way more
Mhm.
important than butting heads over an issue. Like, for example,
Mhm.
I've learned this the hard way because I can be very opinionated,
Mhm.
but doesn't mean that I always speak up about it.
Mhm.
I pick and choose when I want to speak up about it, and
Yeah.
I try to place it in a way that's respectful, kind, and not condescending, right? That's another thing I wanted to talk about, and then I'll get back to this whole thing altogether. That when you're setting boundaries, it's probably best to speak about it within a realm of respect and kindness as much as you can, instead of, saying things in a condescending way, because then it can trickle into, gaslighting and all those other things, because you just know how like our families are. The littlest thing, they'll be like, अच्छा तो इतना क्यों क्या सी, like whatever, right? It is just generally. So when you're butting heads, the way you talk, your tone, your attitude, your facial expressions,
Makes a difference.
everything matters in that.
Mhm.
Everybody's staring at you. They're
Mhm.
going to be looking at what you're saying, right? So sometimes I just stay quiet, quite honestly, because I'm like,
It works out better.
it works out better, and my peace of
Mhm.
mind is way more important than
Mhm.
whatever bullshit that is, quite
Mhm.
honestly. But yeah, I've learned the hard way that I feel that when there's an issue, if you try to address it once and there's no change for that, and maybe try I like I, there's maybe try once more. After that, you need to figure out, is it worth constantly dealing with that,
Mhm.
constantly pushing it in your face and like bringing that negativity in, because again, we're trying to make things positive in the household. So
Yeah.
if you are constantly bringing, you're trying to like address that and they don't care, that's their problem. You've done your due diligence
Mhm.
for yourself,
Mhm.
for addressing it and
Mhm.
doing what you needed to do
Mhm.
for your growth and healing at whatever point you're at. Because the thing is, if you didn't address it and you kept just going along with it and you kept feeding into the negativity and you're just dying on the inside, that's actually way worse than you having
Yeah.
at least addressed it once, even in
Yeah.
a respectful way.
Yeah.
Like, let's, for example, let's say like you and me live together,
Mhm.
you're not picking up after yourself
Mhm.
and you expect me to pick up after you,
Mhm.
right? Let's say I addressed it with you and you're like, okay, I'll deal with it. You didn't do it, I addressed it with you again. At this point, I'm probably gonna be like, I'm not gonna deal with you. I My peace is way more important.
Yep.
I'm just going to navigate the best I can. And after that, there might be a time where maybe we're not going to live together anymore. Maybe, because especially like when I think about it,
Mm.
because I'm not married, my mind goes to whatever the situation is within like my surroundings. It is more of on a temporary basis.
That's
Quite, that's
true.
just the fact, right? Like, I'm not going to be like
Around for
in
much
my
longer.
marital, like, like I'm going to be going off getting
Yeah.
married, staying with like my in-laws and my husband or whatever, however the dynamic is.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, do I want to constantly be butting heads with my family over like these things that maybe in the long right now it matters a lot to me, right? It will to an extent too, because of how they've acted, possibly. You never
Mhm.
know.
Mhm.
So you want to think about it like, how much is that worth it for you now, and how much is it worth it long term?
Yeah.
So that's where I think you need to sometimes, take a back seat and make peace with it.
Agreed. Because when it comes to setting boundaries, as you've expressed, for me, I feel that sometimes for some people it's a foreign concept. It's not known, it's not understanding, and it's like, wait, why do you have a say in it, right? And so you might not be understood. People may not comprehend it, they may not get it, they may be like, what do you mean, what are you saying, and it comes from different perspectives. So again, like as Taryn expressed, there's only so much you can do, and then you have to be like, okay, you know what, let me keep my peace of mind and do the best that I can, and then let's just keep going on to it. And in that retrospect, what I felt what I was doing a lot with my fam was that I was being as honest as possible. So to an extent growing up, like they knew what was going on, and it caused a lot of fights and issues, but I tried to be like as truthful, most truthful I could about to myself, to my fam. So they always knew, like when I was talking to somebody, I'm like, yeah, I'm talking to so and so, but they comprehended talking to like a guy as it's like, oh, like, yeah,
Rishta aa
yeah, no,
gaya.
I'm sitting
Rempi's
there
getting
going,
a ring on her finger.
no, I'm sitting there going, I just want to show you that I'm making the efforts, so you back off, because they get to a point where they're like, oh, you're not even trying. They always say that kind of
See, the
stuff.
thing is, I'll talk about that, I guess. I love that you brought up being true to you because that was something I wanted to talk about. So being true to
Mm,
you is really important. But again, like you need to navigate the concept
yeah,
of the situation.
yeah.
But with the whole telling your parents about your dating, like it's a little bit different because maybe it depends on how modern they are, right? So for me, like if I were to tell them like, oh, I'm dating, I'm doing this, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
they're gonna be constantly on me. The eyes on me, it's a little bit bothersome for
Mm,
me. I feel like then it places pressure, and
true.
for me it's just I don't want like for me I'm not going to tell you until me and my
Something
partner have
solid.
decided that
Yeah.
hey, like
Next
it's
step.
time to tell our families, and whatever, and go from there and take the steps towards, getting the dates and, roka, whatever, right? So it can be tricky depending on your family. I personally, girl, you had guts for,
I
constantly
did.
keeping them in the
Constantly,
loop.
yep. I would tell them the guy, I would tell them the name, I'd say this, whatever. And then they're like, and then some of them, they'd be like, no. And I'm like, well, I'm still talking to them, so have fun, right? Because again, talking versus like dating versus whatever, totally different
Yeah,
concepts.
talking versus dating and being in a relationship and
Mm-hmm.
being faithful to one another, and also, having goals of what you want to create in that relationship is really important.
Mm-hmm.
Some people just go into it and like have nothing planned.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, I'm a very goal oriented person. Like, I'm always on the go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've always said to whoever, friends, family, dating wise, that I can never be a stay at home mom.
No,
I can never do that.
I go
And it's not
crazy.
that I know I'm gonna love my future kids.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me. My heart is already there. You have it. But just for me to function as a
Yeah,
person,
you need to stop.
I need to have something. I've always thought about that. I'm like, I have to work at least part time. Like I can't function. Like I wanna give time to my kids. Like all of us do, right?
Mm.
But I don't know. Like, if that's something you're able to do, good for you. That's just not how my brain functions. I'm too type A for that.
I think it varies, because when there's some of them that are like, they are stay-at-home moms in the 100% and it works out for them, but they also have a lot of other things going on for them, which is great too. So it's variations of it, right? But I agree with you. I think it's just because of the way that we've been raised, how we are now, that not like working or having something else or even part-time is like a foreign concept. We're like,
It
what?
is. Taking a day off can be a foreign concept for me. I'm like a
I don't know what it
workaholic.
means. I'm always like,
But and
oh,
you're worse
can
than
I?
me. You're worse than me.
Because
And
I'm always working
yeah,
too. Like I'm
it's
checking
it's
my phone.
hilarious. Like the solar eclipse is Monday. So today is Sunday, by the way. And the girlies are recording at like 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
Okay, we give up our sleep for y'all. Okay, literally the routine is that like I come in like every like 2 Sundays of the month to Rempi's house in the morning, and I bring us Timmy's and we
Mm-hmm.
literally chat. That's literally what happens. And so yeah, pretty much going back to the solar eclipse. The other day, my mom's like, "Are you going to work Monday?" And I thought that was such a weird thing to ask me because like, when the hell am I not
Is
at
she going to
work?
work though?
No, she's usually home on Mondays.
Oh, okay.
It
So
worked out for
I was
her.
gonna say, I'm like, did she use the solar eclipse
No,
to
she
say,
so she's usually home on Mondays. So she's like, "Tu kam te jana?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like."
mm,
क्यों नहीं जाऊंगी? Like,
thank
what, right?
you.
And she's like, no, the solar eclipse is happening. And I looked at her, I'm like, are you serious? And then she tried to do this with my brother, like my sister-in-law and everything. And we're all just like, are you good? And then I'm like, how long is this lasting? Like,
bro, it's
how
like,
long is it lasting? And I look at it, I Google it. It's 4 minutes.
yeah, but the whole from start to finish is like 2 hours. It's a span of 2 hours, something like that, right? Because it has to travel over, blah blah blah. The darkness period, I believe, is that 4 minutes you're respecting, right? Because of that. So I'm like, same. I'm
I'm
like,
like,
I don't
girl,
know.
I have
I'm waiting.
appointments, I have things.
But watch, two things will happen on Monday, right? Either the roads are gonna be crazy busy then, or they're not gonna be. It's one or the other. We'll find out though.
Well, Niagara Falls already has an advisory.
People are probably already sitting there right now, getting ready for it.
Could be. The hotels are loving it probably. They're all booked up.
Yo, they said they were gonna increase the prices and everything. They were jacking everything up. So that's so
Makes
stupid.
sense. Makes sense
They
though.
jacked up all the prices and everything.
Yeah.
Insane. I wouldn't. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not. Like, Niagara Falls on its own is crazy. I would not for this. Forget that.
So yeah, let's get back on track. But that was just something I thought it was really funny because I don't that would not be a reason for me to take a day off.
Whatever.
So, but
it is what it is.
Yeah. So, yeah. So another thing I thought was you know, with all of this is that whatever's going on in the household, I think it's really important to include a balance of things that make you happy. So go out with your friends, maybe join something, whatever, right? Like we've talked about this before. I tried out a pottery class last year, and it was great.
You enjoyed it, but
I enjoyed it. Would I go back? No, but that's for specific reasons why I wouldn't. But I like I said before, it made me realize I like painting. So I don't know if I wanted to do painting. So I've been coloring. Been, you know, especially like I've been coloring a lot in my coloring book. Also, whoever, you know, sells adult like colored pencils, y'all need to include a sharpener in there. Which adult, like, you know what I mean? Like I needed a sharpener
hold on.
at one point.
No.
And then I'm like, what?
No. I'm gonna be the devil's advocate here. If you have a fucking sharpener for your makeup pencils, you can get a
I
sharpener
do not
for
have
your
a sharpener
crayons.
for that.
So what do you do for that then? You don't put like any collage or something randomly, or your eye pencils for your eyes. You just leave them there.
I usually somehow end up in a situation where somebody else is there with me
Well,
that has
that's
a sharpener.
You problem then, madam.
But now I went to the dollar store yesterday and I got sharpeners because मैं हूँ कितने sharpener मैं pencil use का, you know what I mean? So I was just like, what? This needs to be included. This is a situation. All right, this needs to be addressed. Amazon, roll it in, please. Roll it in.
Well, it's a need that needs to be filled. So why don't you work on filling that need? Then?
I filled it for myself. I went to the dollar store. So, but yeah. So create a balance, right? So do things that you know that you feel are, you know, are going to be great for you. Like include, like especially now that the summer is coming, right? I was thinking of maybe
outdoors,
I was thinking
anything.
of taking more classes of something, but then I looked at my summer schedule so far.
Forget
like,
it.
Girl, I don't got time. I got too many things.
Just go for a walk. You'll be fine.
Yeah. So literally. just include things that you really want to do, right? Like that was one of my goals, just in general. It wasn't a New Year's goal. It was just a life goal that felt like I wasn't really living my life to the full potential. Doing things that I really have wanted to do and I just never did. And I've included that into my summer now. And I've just been pushing myself into doing things that I really have wanted to do and I never have. And maybe I was scared to try it or whatever the case. And now I'm so excited for those things to happen, right? Like concerts is one. Y'all don't even know. I'm so excited.
So many lined up.
I have so many lined up.
You'll have fun.
I'm gonna have such a great time. There's two for sure that I'm going to. I'm not gonna disclose who.
We'll find out after.
And then third one is a potential that I'll go to. Probably get tickets like right then and there. And I'm gonna see if Rampy wants to come for that. Because it's a more girls thing. Cool. Yeah, that one, because it's not worth buying it ahead of time in my opinion. I feel like I want like dirt cheap tickets for that. But yeah, so have things lined up is what I'm getting at, right? Like don't just be like sulking at home and being in the feels of it, because
you also have power over the situation. Don't forget that.
Yeah, you live in a Western society. Go do something. Go join a class. You don't know how to swim, go get swimming lessons. You want to try hot yoga, do it. Go for a walk.
Go for a walk. Easiest thing, just step outside the door.
The weather's been getting so immensely beautiful.
You know, put our podcast on Spotify, just walk.
Hopefully I make you laugh, because I think I'm hilarious. Yeah, I got too much energy for a Sunday right now.
It's the cookie.
Oh yeah,
the magic cookie. Yo, if you guys don't know what the celebration cookies are. Whoever knows what the celebration cookies are, you know what I'm talking about. So she had one of those, because I don't think you've had it before, right?
I've given it to guests. I don't think I've personally had it.
No, it's good. I grew up with this cookie.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on. One of the other things that you will know, and you probably experienced this already, is knowing that no matter whatever you do, you will never be able to live up to any expectations. So we're throwing these expectations from birth, which is the only viable jobs out there is being a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. Says who?
We're not in
Who
any of
and
those.
what army says that? My mom was like very concerned, and she's like, you need to get a job, you need to have an office desk, like, because that's all they knew. That's the only concept they understood, right, growing up. So it's only what you follow type of thing. And you're like, and then when you get out there and you're working, right? So I started working when I was 19. Even they didn't want me to work. Funny enough, my parents did not. So I was legal when I was like, fuck this shit. And I went and I started applying, right? And then I started applying, and then I got callbacks. Funny enough, my mom, you can only work here. You cannot work anywhere else. And I was like, uh-huh. So first you were opposed to it, and now you're suddenly telling me where I could work. Anyways, it was a great decision. It worked out for me at the end of the day. But, and then when you start meeting people and then you start getting there and you're like, whoa. And you're like, okay, so there is like a whole world of opportunity out there. And things are always constantly changing, which is, I think, a beautiful thing. And you have more opportunities. There's so many things that we can do. Now we've reached a point that, unfortunately, Canada does not have a creator fund. Otherwise, you could make money off of TikTok.
Yeah, content creators.
But you could still get out there, get famous. You can be invited to different things and do stuff like that too.
Hello, Garin Aujla got a Juno Award.
Amazing. And that was 2 of us from TikTok. It was a TikTok award. Crazy.
So there's lots of strides you can make overall in various fields and industries and just every area. And it's crazy because me and Rempe are not really a part of the industries that are like like technically I'm a part of the legal industry, but not what you think. Again, I am part of the legal industry, but it's not like I'm not like a lawyer, you know. But yeah, so we're not in the typical fields where it's like, okay, are you a doctor?
No.
Are you an engineer? Are you a
No.
lawyer? No. We did not fall into those categories. We definitely both fell into the categories where our parents are like,
What?
we're a little bit concerned.
We're like, what's going on?
My mother is still concerned. But you know what I mean? It's not like she's concerned like, why are you doing this? It's more of just a general
the unknown.
concern.
It's the factor of the unknown.
Unknown with
right?
mine. But I love my job. Anyone who knows me, who's in my life, knows I can't stop talking about my job.
Nope.
I have a problem.
You will call her up and she'll tell you, oh,
I have
it's going
all
crazy and
the
blah,
craziest
blah.
thing to always
And
say.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and sometimes probably like I'm like, have you ever been concerned
No.
about my career choice?
No, I think you can handle yourself. You know what you're doing.
It really very well suits me in my opinion. And
yeah. No, when you go tell someone you're in human resources, right? I'm sure half the people are like, what do you do? What does that mean? I'm sure growing up, half the uncle aunties are like, what do you mean human resources?
But now they understand it more, right? Because with
they
their
work,
companies, now they
the ones
see
that
HR.
Work, the ones that work with the companies, they know. Funnier thing is that I find in the older days, there was more respect and like a fear of human resources because they're like, oh my God, they could do this or God forbid. These days, if you come see my where I work, it's like a buddy system. I'm not saying people are kiss house or whatever, but they're not. They're like, hey, they approach you and stuff, whatever. And I'm sitting there going, maybe it's my face. Maybe I look approachable. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, no.
I think like unions and stuff probably have an impact on that too, right?
Yeah.
So that could be it.
Unions are unions. That's all I can say. Yeah. Yeah. So anyways, like, so this ties into there were certain expectations perhaps set out, even career-wise, personal-wise, etc. And they're going to comment on a lot of different things. And growing up, funny enough, my mom said this to me once. She's like, at a point that I was like changing, like my teenagers to my adult years, you could say. She was like, I want you to be the girl you used to be. Literally said it to me. She's like, I miss who you were. I want you to be that person. And my response to her was, you don't want me to grow up? I was like, I'm growing up. I'm going into my own person. Maybe at that point we weren't agreeing or saying eye to eye. There's some situations where she'll tell you my fashion sense and her fashion sense are totally opposite or different. Like I see beauty in different things. She sees it in different things. And she'll be like, eh. So examples of that kind of stuff. So she said it to me and I was looking at her. I'm like, you don't want me to grow up? You don't want me to become my own person? We have to, right? And once you start breaking off from what you following them or always constantly listening to them, if that's what's been going on, it is different difficult for them too. But you have to understand that they'll love you no matter what. It doesn't matter what you do. I'll straight up, unless please don't commit any crimes. But other than that, your parents will love you no matter what, and just keep working on it and just know, like, remove yourself from the expectation that you have to do everything, because you're never going to be able to fulfill it. You can actually hit everything they want and there'll still be something that's missing.
You can't be perfect.
No. And they'll get to that point eventually too. No, to be fair, no matter how hard it seems, like, they will get there. But you really have to hone into yourself. And when they see you being happier with yourself, then they'll be okay with you. They'll be, okay, fine, this person has it. Their only concern is for us to be like headed in a good direction. You know what I mean?
Everyone's a work in progress. No one's perfect. And if you can't understand that about yourself, in my opinion, you can't succeed.
Agreed.
Because you're in denial then.
They're just around to hold and support you because they want you to have a good, like, to work on it and do what they want. But remember, and you have to remind them too, is that you've given me a good head on my shoulders. You given me what I needed to, but you need to also let me experience my own stuff as well. You can listen to their experiences because they've had pretty interesting experiences. Trust me, the older generation, they got stories for days. But don't worry. Do not hold on to the expectations. You also have to do what's best for you at the end of the day, and just don't commit any crimes, and we're good. Which also ties into focusing on the positive. So I find that there's many times that we can, and I'm still a victim of this, is we hone down on some things that we feel are not the best, or we hone down on the negative aspect of certain experiences that we're going through or have gone through versus the positive. Example, at work. It ties into personal life, right? So work, it's like work stressing me out, it's that, whatever, and then you come home and you're still consumed in it, which is fine. You take your time to yourself. You don't always necessarily need to be the chirpy person you are every day, if that's, what works for you, but also take a time away to work on yourself and then come back better for everyone else and for yourself to begin with. So there are times where you'll fall into like a little turmoil, you keep going into the spiraling. You got to get out of the spiral.
You just need to make sure you have good supports around.
Yeah.
When you're spiraling, me and people spiral all the time.
Oh yeah.
And as much as maybe we come off as like, oh, these guys are like structured,
hell no,
or like healed to the max, or whatever you guys maybe perceive of us, right, from hearing us. We're human beings. We don't always have the best days too. Sometimes I will go to Ramsey, I'm like, fuck this. I will literally do that.
Same.
Cannot, and she'll do the same.
Same. But we'll acknowledge it though.
We'll
like at some point where we're like,
we'll let it out, and then we'll be like, okay,
like, something's going on. We need to get this.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know what? It's okay. We got it out of our system, and that's all that matters, right? Mm-hmm. And yeah, with the whole work thing, with the stressors and all of that, my biggest advice I could say is leave work at work, right? You really have to try as much as you can. I know not all days it's going to work that way. For me, I can't bring my job home like that. Mm-hmm. And some people ask me all the time, they're like, how do you like not get so stressed, mm-hmm. or you take the emotions of what's going on at work mm-hmm. home? I don't. Mm-hmm. I've learned to block it out, mm-hmm. because of the way my work is. I've also desensitized myself. So something and so I say this whenever someone's like, tell me a story. Mm-hmm. I'll be like, what is your level of sensitivity, yeah. right? And it's not to be rude. It's more to be like, I don't want you to think I'm like a jackass for having a conversation about something that I might laugh at just because of how desensitized I am. It's not an okay talk. There's a lot of sensitive topics that my work has, mm-hmm. and I'm just so accustomed to being around it and so desensitized that I say this to people before I start. Mm-hmm. If they've never heard a story from me, mm-hmm. about whatever, I will be like, okay, tell me what's like your level, like, mm-hmm. like, do you care to what extent, right? Because then I'm not going to tell you those certain things because I don't want you to like feel go into a certain type of feeling. Of course. So yeah, try to leave it at home. You gotta shut off. If you guys have watched the Vampire Diaries, you know how they have like the little humanity switch they talk about, and you flip it on and off and all that. Yeah, just have
turn your humanity switch off.
Turn your work switch off and on. All right, not humanity. We need to keep the humanity alive in the world, but have a work switch.
When they talk to you at that moment, they should turn it off to listen.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
But yeah, and like the only other thing that I would like to say overall, like, that I had listed, I think is really important, is ensuring that there is self-care routine to help with the stressors. I've learned this throughout the hard way. having a self-care routine is so vital. It's not just about living in a certain household. It's just about living
Mm-mm.
life in general. It helps to balance and reset yourself. Some people do it on Sundays or whenever it is. I do it whenever I feel like it. If I need to do it 3 times in a week, I will do it 3 times in a week. If I want
Yeah.
to do it once a week, I will do it once a week. But I try to add something throughout like in the day,
Yeah.
like if even if it's 5 minutes, like
Yeah.
for me, every like I will never let go of my skincare routines.
Mm-hmm.
Like I will be doing it. I'll do my morning skincare, I'm gonna do my night skincare. Like if I don't do it, I feel off.
Mm-hmm.
There's only certain reasons where I won't,
Mm-hmm.
just because of, if I'm
Mm-hmm.
having a certain, like a laser or something like that, right? And you know trying to journal, my coloring book, or like just doing certain things that make me feel relaxed and comfortable. My mind is in a spot where it needs to be, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
because I wear glasses, if none of you guys know. I'm not completely, like, my vision's not that bad, but I wear glasses, so sometimes when I have a lot of screen time, it I feel like my head's just all over the place. It's kind of like a headache, but it's like a middle of a headache and a migraine kind of thing, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I have a bit of dry eye, so I do eye masks. You can get an eye mask from your optometrist, and you just like warm that up for like 30 seconds, and you keep it on your eyes for 10 minutes, and it helps to just like give that nourishment to your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So including that, or if it's doing a face mask, or if it's doing my nails or whatever. I barely go to the nail salon. Like the amount of times Rempy has gone in her lifetime, I can't even say that I've gone at all. It's just not something I do, right? Like I go once a year maybe to get my
Mm-hmm.
nails done.
And that's like for a wedding or something.
That's, yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
honestly, this year I have not gone. And it's what, April?
Yeah.
Last year I only went
Twice?
once.
Oh, once. Wow.
I think it was once. I went once. Yeah. This year I have one time planned that I might get them done, but I don't even know if I will. If
Do
it's
it.
fake
Do
or
it.
whatever. But yeah, so certain things that make you, right? Do those things. Include that to just reduce the stressors, right? Self-care is really important on a day-to-day basis. If it's 5 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. If you can take time to watch TikToks for 20, 30 minutes, if that's your self-care, hey,
That's what I'm saying. If that's your self-care.
that could be your self-care. If it's not a part of your self-care, maybe add it or add something else, right?
Put a timer though. On TikTok, you can put a timer so you're only on and it reminds you. And then sometimes when it gets that reminder, I'm like, oh damn. Like during the whole day, it'll accumulate how much time you've been on in total. And I was like, maybe I should not be as much. But I'm proud of myself when I'm not. So yes, I agree. When it comes to the self-care portion, I go get my nails done like every 2 weeks. And for me, I'm like, I feel good. I'm like, okay, it's done. I don't gotta worry about it for 2 weeks. I can do whatever else, put myself together.
Add something in. Like I recently added in learning how to do a blowout style on my hair. And I'm not doing it with like a Dyson or Shark Flex styler. I do have a Shark Flex styler, but I don't use it like that. I use the blow dryer of it, but I'm doing it with a round brush. So I'm doing the traditional style. And it seemed very daunting at first, but now I have like the products that work. And it's just practice. And sometimes I like, when I'm done, I'm like, holy shit, my hair looks good. So it's just, yeah, so it's been nice, and like add certain things, right?
Agreed. And the last thing I will say is that the thing you should really remember, everyone, is that we're not alone. Like, all this that's been mentioned, all this has been said, is like, it's not just a one shop party going through this alone. Many different people are, but they're just not willing to talk about it or acknowledge it or have it out there, which is also part of our culture. Is like, don't talk about it, don't tell people what's going on, blah blah blah, keep it inside you. So you don't necessarily have to be like spreading everything that's going on day to day, but if you're feeling a ways, if you're like, hey, you know what, I'm feeling in a rut, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that kind of things, yeah, you should be expressing it. You should say like, I've been going through whatever, I'm feeling really down, I need to make some changes. You should be out there talking and getting help that's needed for yourself, whether it's with your friends. There could be some family you trust you can talk to about. You can seek other professional help depending on your age group. And you should not think that, oh my god, I'm the only person going through this. Once you remove that indication, and you know that, hey, you know what, and I can say this from personal experience, there are other people going through what you've gone through, because there are, when it comes to cultural stuff and this kind of stuff, many people go through it. So when you get to the realization that, hey, it's not just me, there are other people, it takes a layer away from it. You automatically feel like lightened. You're like, oh shit,
The
like other
pressure of the
people.
world is gone.
Yeah, because you sit there going, oh, why is it me? Not, not. And then again, a little bit victimizing, but I think it's normal in that aspect if it's something foreign to you, because you're like, why? What is this, right?
Yeah, and like the whole aspect of it's not us being alone. I would also say, there are resources for us in the Punjabi community
A
in
lot
the
more
mental
now.
health
Yeah,
area. And, because sometimes, let's say if you are thinking of doing therapy, right? You may not want to go to someone who is non-Punjabi just because you might feel that they don't understand
I agree
the
to
type
that.
of dynamic, right? So there are Punjabi counselors, therapists, psychologists. Like there's lots of Punjabis,
Hmm.
South Asians in the mental health sector now.
Hmm.
There's actual companies that run
Hmm.
and are just catered towards that. So if it's something you're looking for, Google it. There are so many options for you now. So don't shy away from that if you need it. It's okay to want to talk it out. It's okay to ask for professional help.
It's healthy, man.
It is. It is.
It's one step in working towards healing yourself, and working towards getting to the next step is acknowledging that, hey, something is off with me. I shouldn't always have to be feeling this sucky or shitty inside. And we go through those
Yeah.
motions.
I've
We'll
done
get to a
therapy for
point.
a year once. Like a while ago I did it and it really helped a lot. And
Hmm.
it was scary at first. It's
Hmm.
daunting because it's not something we're used to. But it was something I felt I needed to do to really understand myself as a person at the time.
Hmm.
I was in my really early 20s and I felt like there's just so many things that I had not addressed, and I was just always constantly feeling angry and negative and just
Mm.
all these emotions, and I had to learn to understand them,
Yep.
and they help you navigate it.
Yeah, and
So,
half of the issues and half of the resources, or not resources, half of whatever is going on with us, we can solve within ourselves. We have the power, we have the control to figure it out. And if you just start with that, and then you make those little extra changes in other things and focus on the things that you can control, and there is a lot more in your control than you think there is, automatically your life will start working with you. And I believe in this, is that when you start working on yourself and on for yourself, on yourself, the universe will chime in and say, okay, I see this person's doing this hard work and whatever, let's go, let's do it. The reason I'm tying cultural stuff into this is because people are very cultural sensitive, and that's fine. Religion sensitive, sorry. With any religion, I find, and also myself too. I'm a believer, I respect it, but I have my limitations about it, which is my own personal, and that's up to me what that is. So when I speak to the universe, I literally say, the universe, whatever is around us, will start working with us, be like, okay, let's go. However, part of my routine though is in the mornings, in the morning, and when I'm going to work, I do listen to pod. So I'm trying to incorporate that little aspects, and that's what I feel fine for me is a portion of my self care in the morning is just to have that peaceful 20 minutes in the car as I'm driving, of that being the prayers being said. And it's like when I'm going to work, it's like dark outside, so it's a perfect timing too, because you're supposed to do them at certain variations and times. I'm not cultural religiously versed, so please do not go after me for this, but yeah. So those are the things, is that everything starts working with you when you start working on yourself, and you will see the changes.
absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, no, I think we covered a lot of ground today, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a really good first step towards season 2 for us. So, hopefully this was really helpful for you guys because we know it's not easy. So, if you do take anything away, just take, oh, in my opinion, is make sure you take time for yourself in those hard situations. Do what you need to do for yourself, right? If that's, again, go for a walk, whatever, make some time for yourself.
And until you're not going to try, nothing's going to happen. So as much as you, and you can try and fail too, so be wary of that. But until you don't do anything, nothing is going to happen. So
Yeah.
to start, it's everything is possible. There's a lot of things out there that are able to do. Journaling on your computer, reading a book, and now you can find everything online on your
Listening
phones,
to music, whatever does it
creating
for
a
you.
podcast. There's so many different things, and we're talking from like initially starting and being like to now, like, okay, what are we going to talk about, what are we going to do, and committing to it. So the biggest thing is
The scaries
committing.
were there.
Yes.
I was so scared, absolutely terrified. And it's especially because I've always been a very private person.
Mm.
So I still am, but
Uh,
it's to a degree where I'm getting comfortable with sharing certain things with
yeah.
the world that
Be
I
true to
find is okay.
yourself,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
I'm about it. I'm like, just be true to yourself. I'm like,
Hmm.
whatever, be true to yourself. And the best thing you could do is committing to yourself. So make a commitment to yourself to do better
Yeah.
for yourself.
Yeah. But all right, that was it for the first episode of season 2. We hope you enjoyed and stay tuned for maybe some part 2s from season 1 or maybe
Hmm.
some new stuff. We're going to try to mix it up and we'll take it from there.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.